Welcome to the MCUniverse. We are the Lorehounds, your guides to the multiverse and beyond. I'm David.
I'm Jean.
And I'm Elysia, and we're your guides to the Watcher's many worlds.
Today, we're not only going to talk you through season 2 of Marvel's What If, but we're also going to talk about what you need to know to prep for the next Marvel show, Echo, dropping all 5 episodes on Disney Plus this week.
Jean and I will be doing this storytime style again, walking David and all of you through season 2 of What If, one episode at a time, everything that happened and how it all came together.
And then I'll fill you in on everything you need to remember for Echo, which we'd also love to hear your thoughts about. Email your feedback to mcu@thelorehounds.com or head over to our website at thelorehounds.com and use the contact form or record us a voicemail.
For ad-free versions of this and all of our podcasts, check us out at patreon.com/thelorehounds. For as little as $3 a month, and you can support us, and you can even get a whole year subscription for very affordable prices. So I'll share more about that, as well as programming notes for our upcoming schedule at the end of the podcast.
Also, we'd be forever grateful if you could help us get more ears tuned into the Lorehounds MCUniverse. All you need to do is drop us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening. Apple Podcasts is especially helpful. And even if it's a few quick words, we read them all, and the reviews mean a lot to us.
And before we get started, just a quick spoiler warning. We'll, of course, be spoiling all What If episodes to date, but spoilers for the rest of the MCU and the Marvel Comics are also on the table.
Jean, Elysia, Happy New Year. Good to see you guys. I've got a flurkin in my lap. I've got snow falling outside.
Wow.
So not a bad day to jump on the mic with you guys. How are you both doing? Elysia, how was your holidays?
Yeah, holidays are good. Recovering from a little sickness, so sorry if I sound a little stuffy. But it was nice spending time with my family. Although I did have an incident with my ears on the way back, lost my hearing. It's slowed down my ability to edit audio. So apologies to everyone for some delays on the Wool Shift Dust side.
No apologies.
That's rough. I mean, given that we're in the in the business of producing audio, it's kind of rough when you're not able to hear.
But I'm back at like 70% hearing, so I'm watching movies again, recording with you guys again. All is good.
Nice. Jean, how are you guys? How was your holidays?
Yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. Doing good. It's January, and I'm looking forward to April.
What's in April? Getting past the snow, and
getting past the snow and winter storms and all of that stuff.
We keep trying to get you and your family up to visit us here in Vermont, and I don't think we're going to get you up before April.
No, it might happen this summer. So,
okay, yeah, in the summer.
Yeah, in the summer. Yeah.
Too funny. Awesome. Okay, well, we've got some Marvel news that we wanted to catch up on, and then we're going to get into our What If recaps, and then excitedly, we're going to talk about Echo. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Elysia and Jean, both you guys got some news items you wanted to walk through? We've got some developments since we last recorded.
Yeah, well, right after we recorded, it came
right
through
after
that Jonathan Majors is officially fired. But we might have a new Kang. What do you think, Jean, of Coleman Domingo as a potential new Kang coming in?
I like him. I think he's a great actor. He's a great actor. I think he would be a great Kang. If they go that direction, I cannot be upset about it. I think he's really good. The stuff that he did on Fear the Walking Dead. He's in Rustin, that's playing right now.
Yeah, I was just watching that. Rustin's from my hometown. Sorry, but anyway.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. So yeah, I like Coleman Domingo a lot as an actor, and I think he'll do great in the role. He has the gravitas needed. He has the heaviness that's needed to play that type of villain, and also he has the nuances. I think that could be really well done.
Because it's especially interesting to see him as Rustin, because Rustin famously had a high-pitched voice. And so you see Coleman Domingo's doing this voice, and he's really pulling it off. Like, if you hadn't seen him anywhere else, you would think this was his voice and his mannerisms. And this performance, above anything else I've seen him in so far, really convinces me that he can play a dozen different Kangs.
Definitely.
I haven't seen him in anything beyond Fear the Walking Dead, and I really enjoyed him there. I think he would bring a really different energy for Kang. I mean, what's his name had kind of a crazy energy and a sort of a mad borderline madness that he was bringing. Where I just, like I said, I don't know Coleman Domingo from Beyond Fear the Walking Dead, but in that, his gravity was so palpable on screen. And so it could, I don't know what he's going to bring to the role if, assuming he takes it, but it'll be fun to see him to play with the role and see where he can take it where we haven't seen it before.
Yeah. Since he's older, he could be, he's like a Kang from the future who's lived through some things.
That'd be interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would be really, I'm for it. I really think he's a good actor. So
we could have our own little what if episode here. What if?
What if? That would be great.
What if we cast Omar Sy? No, sorry, I'm done.
And he's also in The Color Purple.
Yeah, that's true.
That's out right now.
Yet, but yeah.
I keep waiting for Jean to drop recast T'Challa.
Don't worry about it. It's going to happen. It's coming.
Well, they are going to have to recast Sentry, though, because due to all the delays, Steven Yeun has dropped out.
Yep.
So it's, I know he wanted to play that role for a long time, but we didn't even get to see him in it. So fine, who's next?
Right. That's exactly how I feel about it. I thought he would have been a great addition to play the role of Bob. But he didn't play the role, so it's okay. Let's go on and move on to the next.
Yeah.
Do you think that this all of this stuff, how confident are you guys both feeling about Marvel finding its footing post 2023, sort of the year that Marvel seemed to crash and burn? Not really, but sort of, right? Like the plane is on fire a little bit.
I mean, I have one major complaint. Everybody who's listening knows what that is. And a couple movies that kind of whiffed a little bit for me, namely, the last Ant-Man and Thor movies. And other than that, for me, it's still been as good as ever. I think What If, which we're about to talk about, was miles above season 1 of What If. So I think they're in a good place. I think that it's popular to talk about Marvel and overall superhero fatigue, but I'm personally not feeling it. What about you, Jean?
I'm not feeling the fatigue. The thing that I'm worried about is that in their response to the fatigue conversation about having less is more, I don't necessarily agree with that mode of thinking. Less could be more depending on what the less is. I think going into 24, there is a dearth of programming, movies, TV shows that, that can really move people to the screen, because some of the characters that we want to see, we're waiting to see them. I think going forward, you have to give the people what they want. I firmly...
there has to be a balance, though, because sometimes they've caused... look at the Star Wars sequel trilogy. When they gave the people what they want, they broke the trilogy.
They did.
Yeah, but this is not that.
Yeah, they have to be careful it doesn't become that, I'm saying.
I know, yeah, I agree with you. But that's why I say that the dearth of the programming could be an issue, because we're getting, 5, 6 things this year. 3 or 4 of them are animated. 2 movies that are not MCU movies proper. Right?
Yeah, 3. Yeah, we've got 3 Sony movies and 1 MCU movie. Yeah.
Right. So I'm interested to see how people react to the films, because a lot of the characters in the film outside of Deadpool, I don't think, and even Deadpool has a very strong vocal fan base, but not necessarily, I don't think, across MCU titles.
I almost don't see Deadpool as an MCU, in an Avengers adjacent thing. I mean, and again, right, I'm the MCU fan that's on the periphery, right? I'm the lightweight fan representing that part of the audience, and for me, I've never seen. No, but Deadpool.
You're correct. You're correct, because he was never MCU until now, because he was Fox. Yeah.
Right.
It was Fox.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is going to be Deadpool 3 is going to be like people are calling it Deadpool Kills the Fox Universe.
Okay. But we have Madam Web and Venom. Oh wait,
there's Sony.
God Almighty. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Sony's the only one that held on to their side of the Marvel pie. Yeah.
Right. And that was that
and
has
the rest
to do with
was
sometimes
absorbed. By
right. That has to do with like deals. Like you had a license deal, and if you didn't produce a certain amount of things, the same in the Lord of the Rings.
Disney
world.
bought Fox.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So then they absorbed it that way.
So yeah. So I'm just a little bit worried that what we're actually going to get is not going to be sufficient. That's my
but maybe it gives people a breather.
I'm looking at a show tracker. So that's one of our Patreon benefits is I have this custom built show tracker that looks at all the shows across the year, and we can look at them by time, and I can sort by genre and platform, so I can look up quite easily all the MCU stuff. And I'm showing Echo, Madam Web, Deadpool 3, Venom 3, Ironheart, X-Men 97, Agatha, and Marvel Zombies. So X-Men 97, Marvel
and all
Zombies,
of those are up in the air mostly.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say.
Agatha, they're certainly going to do in in the fall of next year, because Halloween,
Right,
yeah.
Right. And Marvel Zombies is animated. X-Men 97 is animated.
Yes.
Ironheart, we don't know.
And we've got Eyes of Wakanda. We've got the Spider-Man cartoon, the new. Yeah.
Oh, do I know? I don't. Is Eyes of Wakanda is not this year though?
It's supposed to be this year.
Allegedly,
but we don't know about any of this. Yeah.
All right, so I have to add that to the list. All right.
Yeah,
you guys
and we don't know.
Let me know.
We don't know about Ironheart, for instance. If that's really gonna. There's a lot of reshuffling.
So really, it's just Echo. Is the big show title, and a lot of people.
And then Agatha at the end of the year, yeah.
Right, and that's even thinner on. I don't want to say. How do I want to say this? I think people less. Well, I don't know. Maybe there isn't.
I think Agatha is hugely hyped. That one's
really bigger than Echo.
Way more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Although I'm super excited for Echo, and I think people are going to get excited for Echo, especially seeing how it's very like Netflix reborn.
Right. So, and then I did have a question, because I know we're going to talk about Echo at the end of the podcast after the break, and we're going to get into it. We're going to do our sort of context, what you need to know to watch it. But what's up with Madam Web? That's a Sony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the next movie that's coming out. That's coming in February.
February.
That's part of the Spider-Verse, but not the animated kind.
Right. Okay. And then Venom 3, which is in November, all the way out in November.
Right. And
allegedly.
Kraven the Hunter, allegedly.
Oh, I forgot about Kraven.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I have Kraven on my list, but I just don't have it tagged as a
Yeah. Well, I don't think we have it, because it was moved. It was supposed to be this fall. Now, shrug.
Was it? Oh, was it? They
moved
it again.
They moved it. It was supposed to be fall 23.
Right. I remember that.
They kicked it out, and now sometime in 24, supposedly.
Okay. Oh boy. Let's see. I got to make some notes here. I write down Kraven and trying to keep my tracker list updated.
I would feel the thing is, I would feel more confident if there were some tentpole characters coming to screen.
There are no tentpole characters coming to screen.
No,
right?
Well,
I don't think so.
You mean line.
But yeah, except that Deadpool 3 is like, people are calling it maybe the biggest movie, up with Dune 2, the biggest movie of the year overall, because it's going to bring back all of these Fox characters, including all of the iconic X-Men characters, and maybe introduce some of them to the main MCU.
I hope you're right. I hope that's what they do.
I've seen the set photos. We know.
No, I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen the set photos too. But those set photos, a lot of times the movie is not what we expected it to be, right?
Yeah.
And I'm fearful because I watched the 2 Deadpool movies. You know, you guys already know I'm not a big fan of the Ryan Reynolds Deadpool. They did what they had to do. I think they were cool movies. I don't think they were great movies, especially in how the second one and how they handled, you know, the characters that they did bring in. I'm skeptical. I am very skeptical about this 3 being a proper end to, you know, the Fox MCU Marvel foray. Calling it, you know, Deadpool kills the Fox Marvel universe. That's a high expectation. I hope it's true. Yeah. I want it to be true in a way that, you know, things have not been true before.
Yeah. I mean, was also could be like, you know, where we had Spider-Man No Way Home, and then so we're bringing back the old Spidersmen from the previous incarnations, but doesn't kill them off. It kind of just opens the door more for which I was happy
multiverse.
With. So
no, I was happy with that. Definitely, they didn't need to go.
I have no reason to be too skeptical about Deadpool at this point, especially considering we know they're investing, since it's the only movie on the proper MCU calendar, you know, the Sony stuff aside, which is its own thing. It's going to get all the attention.
Okay.
What are we going to do for coverage for Madam Web? Are we going to talk about that? Does that fall outside of the MCU podcast remit, or is that inside? Is that in the inner periphery of our boundaries?
I think we could do a quick one shot.
Yeah.
Okay. Madam Web, definitely.
I would like to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the Spider-Verse. We've been talking about the Spider-Verse.
Okay. Cool. And then we're definitely doing Echo, and Agatha is definitely on our schedule.
Yes. Yeah.
That better be weekly releases.
What's that?
That better be weekly releases.
That would be nice. It would be nice. And I think for Craven, you guys are going to have to work on me a little bit. I don't know if you're going to get me to Craven. I'll probably see Deadpool just because it is a monocultural style event.
Yeah, that one is MCU.
Right.
Officially. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But I meant just in terms of like if I weren't doing this, would I go see Deadpool? Maybe, probably, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, it's in high entertainment value, right? It's supposed to be a high entertainment value character. You know, zany action on scene and on screen and all that. Okay, cool. All right. Well, anything else that we should talk about, or should we start getting into our what if hot takes, our spoiler?
Yeah, definitely. The last thing I want to say is Feige recast T'Challa.
There it is.
You heard. It's
fandom.
Time to do it. It's okay to do it. Recast T'Challa. When I have, you know, A-list actors saying, yes, I always envisioned that my character will be played by other actors to give them a chance. So, yes, Feige, I'm talking to you directly. Recast T'Challa. There is no reason that we should have to suffer without T'Challa in the MCU. It's high time. This is 2024. It's a new year, new attitude. Feige, do the right thing, because we have a whole bunch of characters who have been recast. Margot Robbie just came out and said, hey, it would be really cool if someone else played Harley.
Well, Lady Gaga's going to do it.
Lady Gaga's playing Harley in an Elseworlds tale.
Yeah.
Right? But still, the actress who most people have pinned as Harley just said, it's okay. I actually want other people to play the character.
Yeah. And Zoe Saldana said it also about Gamora.
Why are we stuck not having T'Challa in the MCU? This is really a sticking point for me. I will beat the drum as loudly as I possibly can. It is unfair to the multitude of black actors in Hollywood who would be bringing all sorts of gravitas to this character and also giving people a shot to shine.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. There is no reason that T'Challa should not be recast.
Do you have a fan cast? A favorite fan casting?
No, I don't. I don't.
Like, I don't care.
I just want the guy in the suit. And even if he's not in the suit, it's okay. You know why it's okay? Because in the comics, there was a run where he was not in the suit. And it's okay. And we love the run where his sister was the Black Panther and he had other adventures because he's T'Challa.
I mean, if you want to get all multiversal about it, it's possible. It's fine, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
he has
the
to come from
reality,
another universe. Yeah,
and primary world reality. Our reality is that stuff happens, and we don't. How many Batmans have there been? Dear Lord, right? Come on, it's not that hard. So
Superman.
Anyway, Batman. I think it probably must have the number one in terms of the number of actors who've played that role, right?
I've had to suffer through 3 Spider-Men, 3 Peter Parkers, 3 Peter Parkers.
That's right.
In 20 years, 3 Peter Parkers.
Yeah.
And you're telling me I can't get a second T'Challa?
I think there's one coming. I think, but maybe the calls for recasting will move it up from earlier than Secret Wars.
With Jonathan Major's situation too, I mean, that should be a clear signal as well. So anyway, maybe we should get on. It's done. Trump is beaten. So let's get on with our season 2 spoiler-free hot takes. I was able to get through 6 of 9 of these, so I feel pretty good. I have definite favorites. I didn't realize until afterwards that some of these are specific homages to other science fiction titles or just movie titles in general. When I was watching episode 1, What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps, at some point I was like, wait, this is Blade Runner. And then later on, apparently, that's the case. It's actually Blade Runner. Or Blade Runner tonality, right? Tone themed.
Right.
Yeah, and they took some specific shots even. And
It totally took some specific shots. So that one I enjoyed. I enjoyed Kahori. And those are the 2 that I would say that I really had a good time with. The other ones, it was really just the switch out the one character. It had the tone for me. Yeah. Switch out the one character, keep the plot as is. And I think for me, the Nebula, and that's episode 1 and episode 6, Kahori, I found that those seem to be the most, to me, the most unique, things, not just a change X character and see what happens. The 2 I didn't watch were 8 and 9. I haven't got around to it because we just got access to a bunch of screener material for shows that were coming up. And so I'm trying to get ahead so John and I can get ahead when we start covering things like True Detective and a couple of other shows. So that sort of got in my way of completing the series. But I really enjoyed episode 6, even though I had some head scratching moments.
Have you seen 7?
You haven't seen 7?
I did. I watched. That was Hela Found the 10 Rings.
Okay.
Yeah, that was interesting. It didn't grab me as much.
That was your favorite genre, right?
It was good?
I think so.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good one. It was a lot of people's favorite, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm torn. I'm torn. The Nebula episode I really thought was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really well done. It was super interesting. I love the visuals about it. I love the story as well. Like this. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Kahori's episode, man. There was something that took me out of it, but didn't take me out of it. Something that made me angry.
We're gonna get into that.
We'll get into it. It made me angry. Not Bruce Banner angry, but it made me angry. But overall, it was one of my favorite episodes of the
I got
2
a lot of
seasons
feels. Yeah.
that they've done.
Yeah.
The Hela episode was also just I really love how they portrayed that story.
Mm-hmm.
And it opens up there's a specific moment that really calls back to something in a comic book that's not even Hela that made it really cool for me, and we'll talk about it once we get to that episode. But yeah, I overall I thought I enjoyed this season more than I enjoyed the season 1.
Is it just me? I mean, I know. Sorry, Elysia, I know we're going to get into your hot take, but I just had a quick question. Is it just me, or is the animation, the style of the animation, it had me like, do I like this animation? I don't know animation well enough to be really a connoisseur of it.
So they're using a game engine to do it, which it really has mixed reviews, the art style animation itself. I fall on the side of really liking it, but you're definitely not the only person who's like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Right.
Yeah. Sometimes the faces were a little strange. Mm-hmm. Certain features on a face would be over exaggerated in some way. And sometimes the motion, I can kind of see the video gaminess of it. I didn't realize it was that at the time, but now that you say that, I could kind of see where that is. It didn't take me out of any of the episodes, but it was something that I did notice, and I like I said, I didn't know how I felt about it.
Yeah. Overall I like the art style. I especially like the stills, and the animation doesn't bother me. But yeah, overall I liked the season a lot. I thought there were episodes I definitely liked more than other episodes. I didn't consider any of them bad. It's just I was most excited by also the Nebula episode, the Kahori episode, the Hela episode, and I mean it just that end run was just banger.
Okay, that's good.
My personal favorite, and I know I'm probably unique for this, but I loved episode 8, which was the 1602 one, which is we'll talk about it more, but it's based
Renaissance
on a
themed,
Neil Gaiman comic run.
Oh,
cool. And I just my history, even though that one is way worse on the history than the Kahori one, we'll talk about it. But I still enjoyed it. It was a good time.
When I messaged you guys at some point in the break, I said, what are the ones that I should absolutely watch before we got on the podcast? And obviously I failed on 2, but it was basically 5 through 9, I think is what you guys said.
Yeah, we said we really liked 1, and 5 through 9 is important for the story.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Any other broad spoiler-free thoughts before we take a break and then get into specifics?
No, just if you're thinking whether or not you should watch it, just, put on an episode every once in a while. It's a fun time, and it does they're building they're building like its own universe within the MCUniverse, own multiverse within the multiverse situation here with a new stable of characters that I'm really growing attached to. So
yeah,
very cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, and if you want our spoiler-free, we do spoiler-free hot takes, and then we get into each episode just like we're going to do, same format here for season 1.
Much more in depth,
you can go through and we can talk about that, and then in this case we're going to go episode by episode and break it down a little bit. But first, let's take a quick break. And we're back. Okay, let's start doing our episode by episode breakdown. Elysia, as always, thank you so much. We appreciate all your efforts at giving us a great structure to work these through.
Yes, and I have to thank Wikipedia for helping me with the recap system.
This time, it's a lot of work. It is so awesome. So we're going to do this. I think you guys are going to trade off one by one. We'll do a little synopsis, and then we'll talk about any specific details that we found that are important for the story or things that we liked about the episodes. So who's kicking us off?
Yeah, I will. So
Okay.
overall, the head writer of the season was again AC Bradley, and so we talked about her a bit more last episodes. If you're curious, she's the head writer and producer on both seasons, and also works on Ms. Marvel. And the director again was Brian Andrews, and we're still waiting to hear about his Marvel zombies. Animation was done by Flying Bark Productions, Stellar Creative Lab, and SDFX Studios, with Scott Wright and Stephen Frank, that name will come back, serving as head of animation.
Question about Marvel Zombies. I think that's the one that came out of season 1 that's actually getting its own spinoff, right? Like they're actually going to develop it as a thing.
Yes. I mean, yeah, we don't know if it's tied to the season 1 episode, but it seems probably. But we don't know much about it.
Okay.
It was supposed to be coming in 2024. Now I haven't heard anything further, so I'm not holding my breath.
Right. We'll when it happens, it'll happen, right?
Yeah.
So, fair enough. Cool.
Maybe they'll surprise us.
Okay.
like with the Wakanda show.
Right.
Yeah, so we start with episode 1, What If Nebula Joined the Nova Corps? And this was directed by Stephen Frank. So that's the head of animation that I talked about for both seasons. And writer Matthew Chauncey, who we also talked about last season, was one of the major writers. And the change in this episode is that Ronan the Accuser successfully rebelled against Thanos and became the biggest baddie in the universe. And when Nebula, she ends up being cast out, lands on Xandar, and she's given a second chance by Nova Prime to have her life in the Nova Corps there. So 5 years after this happens, Xandar has been sealed off from the universe to protect itself from Ronan's forces, and Nebula discovers Yondu's body. And she gets bullied by some Nova Corps douches, and Nova Prime orders her to investigate the murder off the record. Nebula learns that Yondu found the codes to open the planetary shield, thus allowing Ronan in, and she enlists the help of imprisoned Kree soldier Yon-Rogg to infiltrate the Nova Corps mainframe and destroy them. Yon-Rogg betrays her, revealing that he and Nova Prime planned to give up Xandar to Ronan, and they try to kill her, but Nebula survives, and she enlists the help of Howard the Duck, who's a casino owner, and his gang, Groot, Meek, and Korg, to stop Nova Prime. And during their fight, Nebula reveals that she actually realized Nova Prime's defection when she assigned the mission to her. She realized that something was off there. So she altered the code so that the shield would open, but then close again, smashing Ronan's ship, the Dark Aster, just as he was entering Xandar, thus destroying the ship and killing Ronan. And Nova Prime, learning this, tries to escape but falls to her death, and the shield reopens, the sun shines, and Nebula prepares to continue defending her new home planet. So David, you said this was probably, it sounds like maybe your favorite?
Second favorite. I think Kahori is my favorite for sure. I enjoyed this one. Just before I give my thoughts too, note to self, whenever my boss comes to me and tells me to do something off the record, make sure that you know what's going on. You got yourself protected. So props to Nova for seeing through the ruse there. And I liked that twist that, she actually had figured it out. So I thought that was cool. I thought the visuals were great. Once I got over the fact that, hey, you know what, this is very Blade Runner, like what's going on? Yeah. I'm like, actually it looks really cool. And then later when I obviously learned officially that it's it's supposed to be that way, I appreciated it a little bit more. But I think what I liked most was its dark tone. I like the fact that that we can go there. We're going to go there with Echo. It seems like, let's do this. Let's go MCU after dark, right? Let's deal with some more difficult things or darker toned things as part of the menu of options and stories that we have. And so I, for one, really appreciated that. And I again thought it was an innovative storyline within the What If universe rather than just swapping one character for the other. Like this felt like a wholly new storyline, like they took the basis, but then they took it really far rather than just an incremental change. So it was a lot of fun.
Totally agree. Yeah, and the dark tone was visual as well. So I really did like that. That they moved through the shadows, alleyways and crawl spaces. I just really love that tonality visually. And the story itself was like you said, David, is kind of different with the shield, keeping them locked inside for what was it, 5 years? Like you can imagine what that would do to to a society, that regularly is spacefaring, right? Like you can travel off planet and go do things and
and they don't see the 3 suns.
Right. And to be stuck in this darkness for 5 years, knowing that if you do see the light, that, it's probably going to be the end of you. That's really, I thought that was a really cool concept.
Kind of inverting the whole light versus dark storyline.
Yeah. Like the dark is saving you right now. You know what I mean? And, if there's any glimmer of light that shines, man, that's it. It's over. So I thought that was really cool of them and the way that they presented the story. And it was, I like, Nebula. I've always liked her character. I liked her character in the MCU movies. And it's good to see her get something of her own.
For sure.
She
Not
stands
just being
out
a
on.
supporter.
And that she can stand on her own and have a story, revolve around her. I thought was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently they made this episode just because they like Karen Gillan so much. They like working with her. So they just wanted Nebula to have her own story.
That's cool. Awesome. I like that. I like to hear that.
That is awesome.
And
go ahead.
I was to say, and I also have to point out that she was ID'd in this as an Omega class cyborg. Now we know we normally when I hear Omega class, I think Storm is an Omega class mutant, which means she's a goddess, basically. So that means Nebula is pretty freaking badass,
powerful in this universe.
I love the Blade Runner-ness. I love the film noir-ness. That apparently they were intentionally mimicking their favorite 80s movies throughout this season. So we see that come back in a few different episodes. I love that she summons Yondu's arrow with like a hologram recording of him. And just seeing her use it was awesome. I want more of this Nebula. Like every time I see a different Nebula, I'm like, I want more of this Nebula.
This was a really competent Nebula rather than just an angry sibling Nebula, which I thought was a significant character change because a lot of times it's just her in opposition to Gamora, where this is, like you were saying, she's on her own, she's competent. Not only, I would say she's more hard-boiled than Noir, but that's like splitting hairs.
I think they did a lot of specific, Blade Runner is very film noir as it is, but they did a lot of specific film noir tropes. Like this is the one episode where the main character takes over narrating from the Watcher.
So that's true. But I'm thinking she's more hard-boiled in that she knows the terrain, she knows the systems of power, and then is able to navigate through those, where a lot of times with Noir, the primary protagonist doesn't there's something that they don't understand. There's a mystery that's revealed that shocks them. And then whether they survive or not through the Noir is a different question.
Right.
But she was very hard boiled. And I just liked it, her being away from the sibling rivalry part of it and just being a person on her own. And that was to learn more about her character. So,
as far as the mystery, I'm not sure I completely buy why or, that Nova Prime and the rest would betray their planet and choose Ronin's side.
Fair enough.
That was the one thing that fell a little flat for me. But I love that, except for Nova Prime and Groot, I love that everyone else was played by the live action actors. And that's the case for most of the characters this season. So it's a really incredible cast.
And Korg is in everything, it seems like. That guy is like
he should be in everything. Love Korg.
I was wondering, I'm like,
Taika Waititi MCU redemption arc.
Exactly.
He needs
like,
it.
do I like Korg? And then I'm like, Korg. Yeah, I think Korg is growing on me even more because
I like Korg.
He's so constant. Korg. He's such a constant with his character.
And we also see they're sort of putting in these what if episodes all the cosmic characters together. So we also see Drax in the background. So apparently like, the other would-be Guardians are trapped here.
I missed that.
The prison that was floating in space in the Guardians movie is actually on the ground, and that's where they get young Rog out of. But yeah, we got our man Garth and Sal. He was like the right-hand man of Nova Prime. He was a hero in the MCU. He died fighting Ronan, and here he's head douche. So that's a downgrade for his character. Did you think, and I know this comes from the comics, but John, did you think like the Xandarian world mind, it's looking a lot like the Kree Supreme Intelligence? It just made me think about this. There are similarities between the Kree and the Xandarians. Like they're both military people who kind of have like a computer deciding things for them. But then except for this what if where Nova Prime and Co., take a heel turn, it turns them out in different ways. I find that interesting.
Yeah, I've not been a fan of how the Nova Corps has been portrayed in the MCU because they don't do the things that are in the comic, specifically as it relates to what you just said, the world mind, and how it powers the Nova Corps. So the world mind is a supercomputer, but it also it has what's called a Nova Force that it imbues the core members with. So they're able to fly out in space, basically, and become enhanced persons. So they don't really do that in the MCU. And I think that bit of fantasy is kind of needed. It's highbrow and it's, what kind of, magic stuff is this, flying in outer space. But I'm a fan of that sort of magic stuff, flying in outer space. So I'm missing that part of what the MCU can do. And there's a particular arc that the Nova Corps is destroyed, just like it was destroyed in the MCU, but the powers of the core of the world mind infused with one Nova.
Yeah.
And you have the world mind and Richard Rider, that's the Nova, who are basically the Nova Corps. And it's I think they need to do more with that. And they've already destroyed the Supreme Intelligence. So that's out. So I don't know where they go with all of this stuff.
Well, I mean, I guess that's what if is for also, is for these, where they took a different way, where people might be missing certain things from the comics. They can come back to what if.
Definitely. Like, I would love to see Richard Rider in the Nova Corps proper.
Well, there was supposed to be that Nova one-shot, and, God knows what's happening with that, obviously. But I do wonder if that's still lingering somewhere, if there's ideas about that.
Right. So we'll see.
Yeah. And also just the fact that that Xandar was presumed destroyed by Thanos in the MCU does make me feel more protective of the planet in this short. So when you see like the shield go up, you're like, you need this shield so you don't get blown up. But then also this is a planet that has the 3 suns. And so it's always like a beautiful day there. And now they're plunged into darkness. And what does that do with, I struggle even just in the winter with the short days. Like, what does that do when you're completely cut off from 3 suns? And I think there's just a lot of nice philosophical underpinnings in there. Like, well, here we have the heartbreak where Nebula was, of course, betrayed by Thanos' always adoptive daddy. But here she's also betrayed by adoptive mommy. So it's a bit darker.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But then you have at the end that happy ending where, like, when it opens up and we have the sun, if we open ourselves to new possibilities, they seem to be suggesting we face risk, but it's also the only way to really thrive, for things to grow and things to develop. So,
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That makes sense.
I have a question for you guys. So I think of this as kind of like the only truly standalone, or at least is a truly standalone episode this season. Is this what you want or expect What If to be, or do you like also having the interconnected episodes that we get later?
Jean?
I want it to be this. I want it to be standalone stories that don't necessarily connect to one another. I think there's the idea that the MCU has like this, overarching story that's being told by individual, stories, right? I just want this to be what it is. This is a story that we're telling in this universe. Boom, next. But I say that I don't have a problem with the multiverse aspect of the what if, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bringing all the heroes together. If it's done well.
Yeah.
If it's done well. Yeah. But I really think that standalone stories, when I first heard about what if coming to the screen, that's the first thing that I thought was like, okay, these are going to be, stories that don't really matter to the overall, plot of whatever else is coming to the MCU. That they connected them in season 1 and they're doing so in season 2. It doesn't take me out of it, but I would prefer it to be just those one-offs.
I thought that that's what it was going to be, of course, when we first heard about the show. But I'm finding myself, and I appreciate, I loved this episode. I love that it's its own thing and it ends where it ends, and we don't really need it to continue, although I want to see more of that Nebula. But that's my problem is I'm like, yeah, give me a good, fresh, standalone story. And then if I like it, I want to see more of it. And I find myself always drawn into like these interconnected worlds. And this is why I keep getting sucked into the IP, like Marvel and like A Song of Ice and Fire. And,
Yeah, I have to go along with the interest in having more standalone, diverge further and further from the source material. I guess I'm not as big of an MCU head that I want to know, what if it was Peter Parker instead of, Black Widow that did this thing and everything else sort of played out similarly. That doesn't excite me as much as take an existing character, put them in a radically different situation than from what I knew, and then show me more about that character. Show me more. Let me learn more about that character's motivations and reasons for the way that they do things in these different circumstances. That, for me, is fresh storytelling. That's, for me, more entertaining than just the minor variation plot styles.
All right. Should we move on to episode 2?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. So episode number 2, what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? I don't know why I got stuck with Peter Quill episode.
Sorry, it wasn't on purpose.
Right.
It happened in season 1
New Year, same genre.
Elysia is blushing.
Oh, that's I'm sick.
Right, no, but because you trapped John twice.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, I also trapped him with the Kalori episode. Well, the thing is, I keep giving him also my favorite episodes, but it just works out better to do things. So yeah, like you got this Doctor Strange one last episode. You got 6 and 8 this season.
All right, cool. All right. Okay, so this is directed by Brian Andrews, and the writer is Matthew Chauncey. The change. Yondu delivered Peter Quill to his father Ego in 1988 instead of keeping him, allowing Ego to tap into Peter's power and take control. Just that sentence is just so... Think about it. Gave him to his father instead of keeping him, which is actually what happened.
It's a very different Yondu.
Man, even the Yondu that we know, keeping the kid, Lord have mercy. Okay. 6 months later, after ravaging several worlds, Quill returns to Earth. In response, Director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Peggy Carter and Scientific Advisor Howard Stark recruit Bill Foster, King T'Chaka of Wakanda, Bucky Barnes, Dr. Wendy Lawson, and a reluctant Hank Pym, who brings his daughter Hope along. After a scuffle on Coney Island, the team lock Quill up with help from Thor. As the team discusses their next move, young Hope frees Quill, who travels to Missouri. As T'Chaka, Foster, and Thor help S.H.I.E.L.D. hold Ego back, Pym and Lawson find Quill visiting his mother's grave. A sympathetic Pym convinces him to stand against his father. Bucky, in his Winter Soldier mode, prepares to assassinate Quill until Starks remind him of his best friend, Steve Rogers. As Eagle overwhelms the heroes and tries to take back the seed he plans to use to take over Earth, Pym and Quill arrive just in time to stop him, with the latter using the seed to destroy Eagle's avatar. The team, minus Barnes, celebrates their victory before setting out to confront Eagle himself. Finn. Elysia?
So I know this episode, a lot of people really liked it. I medium liked it. I liked it well enough. It was a middle of the pack for me in a strong season, but I thought it was really fun to see a new but familiar team in a time period we haven't really gotten to see yet. I always love more Peggy Carter, which, What If is obviously a lot for that, but I have to,
Peggy Carter.
Yeah, but I have to give another plug for the only 2-season long series, Agent Carter, available on Disney Plus, where you get to see more of her and Howard Stark, Tony's father's dynamic. So I think that's a lot of fun. And yeah, I kind of love this young Hope and Peter bestie lineup. So again, I'm like, this was great. Great standalone episode. Give me more. What did you think, Sean?
This Peter Quill wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Little kid Peter Quill is definitely better than adult Peter Quill. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I thought the episode was cool. I really liked seeing Bill Foster back in superhero form. Sidebar: Marvel Comic, bring back Bill Foster. He's been dead way too long. Bring him back. Finn. So yeah, I thought this was a really cool, it was cool. I like that he gets to explore his power set in a way that he doesn't really do in the movies. You get to see just how powerful that, Quill could become. And like you said, this grouping of heroes that we've never really seen before, I thought was really nice to have. T'Chaka is always welcome in his Black Panther, outfit. It was really cool. So yeah, I just thought the episode was cool for me. It was fine. It was nothing that I'm like, oh, you have to watch it. But if you watch it, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, David, you didn't watch this one, right?
I did, but it didn't, or I started to watch it. Maybe I think I dropped out halfway. Okay. It didn't grab me, and I know I was just banging the drum about give me more innovative storytelling, and this one sounded like, if I remember right, it was a little bit of an innovative storytelling. So maybe I just wasn't. I don't know. I just didn't get invested in this this plot for whatever reason. So I kind of have a null response to it, neither good nor bad.
Yeah, so. That's how I felt.
I think there's a lot of nostalgia factor, and I think why a lot of people like it because so we had all the original cast back except for Wendy Lawson, and of course they aged down Peter and Hope. And Wendy Lawson is Marvel from Captain Marvel, the role played by Sigourney Weaver, and then of course, as you brought up, we get Bill Foster back, who's he's Giant Man or Black Goliath in the comics, and he's Hank Pym's old partner. So they work together on size changing technology. So that's why he can get big as Hank Pym gets small. And he's played by Lawrence Fishburne. And we last saw him as Ghost's protector / guardian in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we know Ghost will be back in Thunderbolts. Maybe Lawrence Fishburne will too.
I don't know, but I don't want him back if he's not giant.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that they would, maybe Ghost goes to him for help, and he's like, "Well, okay, let me break out this old technology."
I don't want Bill Foster in the MCU if he's not going to be a hero.
Yeah, fair. No, he was wasted in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Total waste of a character.
Yeah,
I don't need that. I don't want that. I don't need it. So yeah.
Yeah, just to set this in the timeline, so this is 1 year after Janet Van Dyne disappeared into the quantum realm, and 3 years before Winter Soldier kills Howard Stark. So here they are side by side. I wonder if that happens in this universe too. And this is also while, obviously, Wendy Lawson is working on Project Pegasus, which is where S.H.I.E.L.D., NASA, and the U.S. government worked together to study the Tesseract. I loved the reference to T'Chaka's father, Azuri, who he fought with Cap in the comics, and they said he gifted the vibranium for Captain America's shield. So, and they reference him being lost in the Arctic. What did you think of the more serious Thor this episode?
He was neither here nor there for me, quite honestly. Like, I think he was just filler.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess,
big role. I think it was something for them to play off of, and getting to Peter. Like, oh, we have to stop Thor from doing this bad thing that we don't want him to do or whatever. But yeah, I don't think he was really. I don't think he was integral to the story, and didn't feel like he needed to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess. Yeah. I mean, so they said that Quill destroyed Asgard and the other realms, and that's why he was there. And I guess that's why he was more serious. But I felt like it was sort of a giving that to the fans who have been complaining that Thor's too jokey in the MCU.
I didn't even think about that. That's well, if that's the case, that was a fail.
I mean, I don't have any strong feelings about Thor.
Yeah, you got a serious Thor, but it didn't move the needle one way or the other. So
but it's worth noting that Ego the planet survives in this universe, so like can't be too hard for him to grow a new avatar. It looks like Peter though gets to keep his celestial powers in this universe.
Yeah.
We got that team up at the end. Do you want to see more of this team?
No. I don't need to go back to this universe.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the team up was the most exciting thing for me, that I want to see more of the team more than I wanted to see necessarily the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I can see that.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
It makes sense to me. But the way that the story played out, there's really, it's like, for me, I feel like I got this story out of them. Okay, cool. I'm not clamoring to see more of these characters interact with one another or interact with the greater MCU proper.
Okay. Did we change your thoughts at all on this episode, David?
For
better or worse?
I don't think so. Maybe John's attitudes towards Peter Quill have infected me beyond my realization.
Yes.
Cool. All right.
Peter Quill didn't do the dumb thing with Thanos, so I like him.
Right.
Yeah.
I did watch this next one, episode 3, and it was a bit of a head scratcher, but it was fine. So.
Yeah.
I think you're up, Elysia.
Yeah, it's called What If Happy Hogan Saved Christmas, or as I like to call it, What If Happy Hogan Did a Die Hard?
Yeah, basically.
It's directed by Brian Andrews, written by A.C. Bradley and Matthew Chauncey, get co-credits. And the change is an Avengers holiday party goes awry in a plot suspiciously like Die Hard. So on Christmas Eve, Happy Hogan is assigned to oversee security at Avengers Tower for the annual holiday party when Justin Hammer and his henchmen Sergei and Rusty break out of prison and assault the tower, trying to steal Tony Stark's technology and a sample of Bruce Banner's blood. While attempting to save the blood sample, Hogan accidentally injects himself with it, causing him to gradually transform into a purple Hulk-like monster, the Freak, while retaining his intelligence. While with the Avengers busy and Stark's AI Jarvis down for maintenance, Hogan enlists the help of Eternal intern Darcy Lewis, who tries to find a new AI to reboot the tower's security systems. However, she is taken hostage by Hammer's group, who hijack the Iron Legion and Stark's Hulkbuster armor. Once his transformation is complete, Hogan destroys the Legion and defeats Hammer, but not before the Avengers mistake him as the enemy and attempt to fight him before turning to help him. While Hammer is taken back into custody, the Avengers praise Hogan for his efforts and resume their Christmas party. So, yeah, you are not a huge fan, David?
It was just, it was very on the nose for the Die Hard thing. There is some of that silly humor. What's the name of the assistant?
Darcy.
Darcy, right? Yeah, and Darcy was from the very first Thor movie, right?
Yeah, and she was in WandaVision also, and
right.
She comes back in Thor stuff a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, just that style of humor is not my personal favorite. So it was kind of like I did like the lighthearted ness of it, and it was kind of silly and low stakes, and it's not game changing. It was just one of those, hey, let's have a party and cause some mayhem and see what happens. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, and I didn't mind the diehardness of it so much. I guess if I don't know, that's a good question, because I didn't know either for episode 1 or this one that these were specific homages, and I don't know if that would have helped me going into it or not. But it was fine. I mean, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was entertaining, and that was about it.
What'd you think, Sean?
I liked it. I thought it was cool. The reason why I liked it, I liked seeing Happy Hogan as, I like seeing him superpowered and taking on this role that he's only watched before, right? And everything that we've seen him, he's been adjacent to the heroics, the superpowered heroics, I should say. And it was cool to see, a sort of every person get these powers and jump into action using them, and try to navigate them. And then, to convince people, I'm actually the good guy here, because of the way he looked. So it was,
that was a nice little twist. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. So I that was my favorite part of it. Just seeing Happy, become this superpowered person like this. I would like to see more of him. I don't need to see the entire crew,
right?
But more stories around, Happy in this universe, potentially being, out there fighting supervillains or crime or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that would be interesting for me to watch. So I enjoyed it specifically because of the portrayal of Happy Hogan.
Well, it's interesting. They gave him in the episode 8 in the 1602 universe, they gave him the same powers. Presumably that means then there are other universes where this happens.
Yeah.
I mean, this was one of my less favorite episodes of the season, toward the bottom of my rankings, but overall I like the season. So I didn't hate it by any means whatsoever. I thought it was fine. It was fun. It was, I made my family watch it with me on Christmas. So I was in the mood. It was probably the most shat upon episode in the fandom overall, but
seriously?
I'm a bit surprised about, because
I was surprised by
people liked Die Hard. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
it was fun. It was a lighthearted one that didn't have any stakes, really.
Yeah,
it didn't really make you think anything. You weren't. I wasn't certainly going to take it seriously.
Right.
Beyond that, it was a what if. I think for me, now that we're talking about it in this real time moment, in terms of what I expect what if to be, this pretty much hit at the center of the target. This was,
I kind of agree with that.
Yeah. Whereas like when we go to Kohori or something like that has much bigger stakes, and that's telling a much more impactful story, I think, for a lot of reasons. But
I think that goes back to what I said earlier about, people having the expectation of the interconnectedness to all Marvel stories. Right? Like, how does this fit into the overall structure, the overall plot, the overall, phase of where we're going to, right? How do we get from A to Z, and where does that fit in? Where does this story fit in on that timeline to get us from A to Z? And, the stories don't have to be that. And, you don't have to, there's no real start or end to comic book stories. Right. There are events that happen in comics, but the events are always happening in comics.
Yeah.
There's always something going on in comics, and you don't, it's just difficult for me to be like, hey, where does this fit into the overall narrative? I don't need everything to be connected. And I think that's where a lot of people have issues, because they don't feel like things are being connected enough. And then, once they start to get that sort of, I have to watch this in order to understand that, right? That's what the connectivity is.
Right.
So you can't complain about it not being connected enough, and then complain about it being too connected.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
It's
I think
one.
they walk the line well enough, but of course I prefer the connectivity. So
yeah, that's fine. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not on either side of the aisle here. I'm bipartisan on this issue, right? So, but it's really, telling to me that people complain about what we've heard over the last year, 2 years about Marvel fatigue. That's been one of the main issues, right? People saying, "Oh, I have to watch something in order to understand this," and then I don't want to watch anything else in order to understand this, right? And it's really, is that a real thing, or is it something that is being, propagated by a very small minority of very loud folks?
I think a lot of the angry takes are exactly the latter, being propagated by a small vocal minority.
Right.
But this is like, there are the connections here if you look for them. And I think that that's what Marvel is at its best is, it's a movie or a TV show you should be able to watch on its own, and it should provide you with just enough context that you don't need to rewatch something else. But then, like the comics, if you like a certain character, like go back and watch that character's origin and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is set on the timeline just before the Age of Ultron, and that explains why we have this lineup of Avengers and why Tony has that technology. We've got all the original cast back except for Tony and Black Widow were the same voices as who did them in season 1, Mike Wingert and Lake Bell. And we also have Josh Keaton stepping in for Steve Rogers, and that's true throughout the season. There's a lot of we get Kat Dennings back as Darcy, and I love Darcy personally. Like Darcy, I want to be my best friend. But there's sometimes the humor here didn't necessarily feel as well meshed as it did in, say, WandaVision. I think that was really Darcy at her best, or maybe the first Thor too. I just have lots of questions. Like, what is she studying? How does her program work? How old is she? But I don't necessarily need that to be clarified. I love that she calls Happy Puffin 2 because Bernard from accounting is Puffin 1. And this is actually the second reference we've gotten to Bernard from accounting.
Bernard from accounting, yeah.
Yeah, because Black Widow wanted to set up Peggy with him with her Bernard from accounting in season 1. Yeah, I hope he turns up at some point. And I loved also that nobody wanted the Hawkeye action figures. Hawkeye got a lot of slights this episode, which
he did. That's true. I didn't think about that. That is true. 50% off, right?
Yeah, 50% off. Even his kids didn't want it. I mean, there's a lot of fun things, like why is Natasha dressed as a ballerina? Well, she doesn't have ballet training. I guess it's just fun. She was on a mission. I love the Easter eggs. Like the new AI is Werner. It's a Werner Herzog reference, which is so random. Are you a fan of his films, David?
I am I don't know how to say this, an admirer. I appreciate Werner Herzog. He just wrote a new book. I forget the title of it. It's like, God is angry and against man. Or I don't know. It's something. It's really provocative title. And I heard a number of interviews with him as he was promoting his book, and it sounded really interesting because he had a really wild life. The way he grew up in the ashes of World War II, and his filmmaking career. So I appreciate his voice and I appreciate his take. I thought they were going to go, what's the name of the AI that Hydra had? The guy with the glasses.
Oh, Zola. Yeah.
Zola. I was, when I first heard the Werner Herzog voice, I was like, oh my God, why would they bring back Zola? It's ridiculous of all the ones. But
why
then
does Tony even have him?
Yeah. Exactly. So it was kind of fun. I mean, it was like having Werner Herzog in Mandalorian for, the first couple of episodes. So
yeah, it was a random reference, but and they gave him like that nihilistic sort of characteristic tone. Just some fun Easter eggs in Happy's phone. I love that they had the names of the creators and writers, A. Bradley, M. Chauncey, S. Lee as for Stanley, and then a bunch of like Fury Hill, a bunch of the Avengers, government people like Thunderbolt Ross, Darcy, of course, and then random ones like Christine Everhart was Tony's news reporter hookup, and Harley Keener is the kid from Iron Man 3. Like these are all in Happy's phone. So I love that these little details in these episodes. We won't go through many of them, but it's fun.
The book title for Herzog's book, by the way, is Every Man for Himself and God Against All. So it has a very nihilistic, but the thing is, he's not nihilistic himself. He's very positive in his outlooks and things. He's just as a brutal pragmatism. I would not have known that. Okay. Yeah. So really, really interesting. So.
Cool.
And then next up, we had the silliest episode of them all, in my opinion.
Episode 4. What if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? Director is Brian Andrews and written by A.C. Bradley. The change. Tony destroys the Chitauri mothership above New York City in 2012, like in the events of the Avengers first movie, but he doesn't make it back through the portal to New York City before it closes, instead falling through space and landing on Sakaar. After agreeing to stay for one drink, Tony is trapped on Sakaar by its ruler, the Grandmaster. Stark interferes in a death race to save one of the racers, Korg, and encounters Gamora, who was sent by Thanos to kill Stark for stopping the Chitauri before the Grandmaster's chief enforcer, Topaz, imprisoned the pair. Upon learning Gamora's purpose and vowing to stop the Grandmaster, Stark escapes, recruits Korg and Valkyrie, builds a new Iron Man suit, and challenges the Grandmaster to a race for the title of Sakaar's ruler. Though the Grandmaster tries to cheat, Stark ultimately wins, and Valkyrie defeats Topaz, sending the melting stick flying until it hits the Grandmaster, melting him into a puddle of goo. As Valkyrie is crowned king of Sakaar, Stark convinces Gamora to forge her own path. They leave together, and the episode ends with them leaping to kill Thanos. Elysia, what did you think?
So this was a missing episode from last season. It was delayed due to COVID, and I'd been waiting for this one because it explains like how Gamora and Tony ended up together with Thanos and Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet, but then I was kind of disappointed at the end. I was like, well, where does she get the Stone Crusher? Because she just suddenly had the Stone Crusher in the season finale of last season. But anyway, overall, it was my least favorite of the season, but I still enjoyed it reasonably enough. Jeff Goldblum was always fun, and I thought it was probably the funniest episode overall, especially Korg. David, you didn't watch this one, right?
I think maybe it was this one that I okay. Stopped halfway through. There's my response right there. That's everything you need to know. I was like, okay.
Okay.
What do you think, Sean?
I thought it was funny. I thought Goldblum and Korg were the stars of this episode.
Maybe I need to go back and just watch Korg.
Yeah. I think they're hilarious. Like, I love Jeff Goldblum's portrayal of Grandmaster. I think it's one of my favorites in the entire MCU. But yeah, other than that, yeah. It's a fun. If you enjoyed the movie Death Race, then you possibly will enjoy this.
Yeah, but this was the Mad Max episode, they called it.
Definitely.
Oh, really? But I guess I didn't pick up on that aspect of it.
When I watch it again, it's because I want to laugh with Korg and the Grandmaster. Yeah. So yeah, that's the reason that this exists to me. It's just fun. Those two. They must have had a blast in the studio voicing these characters. That's how it felt.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it's supposed to be like an empowering Gamora story, but she seemed like...
Not really.
Yeah, it was like you said, the characters I'm really watching for are the Grandmaster and Korg, and then Tony feels like the star, and then Gamora's, best supporting actress.
Yeah. It would have been better if she got the Nebula treatment for this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't, again, it's because Zoe Saldana has already left the MCU.
Yeah.
It was all original cast again, except Tony and Gamora. So
yeah.
I mean, I think Cynthia McWilliams did a nice job, but it's not the same thing where they're like, "Oh, Karen Gillan, we love you. We want to give you a Nebula episode." It's interesting though that this is kind of like a real what if, because there was a rumor at the time when Avengers came out that Tony originally wasn't going to fall back to Earth in that movie, but he was going to go off and join the Guardians of the Galaxy, like in the comics.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So this is kind of, how maybe it could have been something like this. This is set 5 years before Thor Ragnarok when we come to this planet, but we see a lot of the background characters are already here. So it's cool to line those up and see how those are transferred to animation.
Huh.
And I'm still waiting for the Grandmaster, Jeff Goldblum, and the Collector, Benicio del Toro, are confirmed brothers. I really want to see them together in a what if next season, please.
That would be fun, because those two guys playing off of each other would be, I think, hilarious.
Yeah, I agree. And I loved the nickname Metal Mojo Man. That's my new name for him. I have to point out though, I've been watching, thanks to Deadeye Jedi Bob, I've been rewatching the old Spider-Man animated series, the old X-Men animated series also. And in the X-Men animated series, there's the Mojo, which makes people fight for entertainment, and
Game World,
intergalactic cable. Yeah,
Game World. So it's a character. It's like a big casino, and like you said, in the show notes, you wrote down it's like a cable network, which is actually what it is in the comic books. So
so intergalactic cable is a Rick and Morty reference, but yeah.
And so that's really cool.
Yeah.
More X-Men adjacent things.
Yeah. Well, I think we're shifting that direction.
Yeah. I can't remember where I was hearing something about that, but some folks were talking about, is the Avengers stuff kind of now, it's a little bit, washed. We've gotten a lot of that, and is a pivot to something like X-Men going to be the exciting new direction? And is that going to really sort of reignite interest in the superhero genre? And I don't disagree with that take. I don't know about the backside on the Avengers of it, but certainly if they brought X-Men forward,
I think there's legal stuff, which
interesting.
Sure, it's
for whatever reason.
It's always been the plan to have the next phase be the X-Men phase.
Great. I think people are ready.
And I hope they don't kowtow and just move the X-Men up and they just, build toward it properly. People get too impatient.
It's true. The market does get impatient. But at the same time, I think it's an exciting, I think there's a strong desire for the, I don't think that's a controversial statement to say people are excited for.
No, I love the X-Men. That was my entry into Marvel.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what you guys are talking about. This is the reason why I call BS on the Marvel fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Because
got it. Okay. When you look at a wider set of titles
of what's coming,
that's a good point.
These movies, I would, place a large wager are going to do very well.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Between the X-Men, Fantastic Four, people have been waiting 20 years to get these characters done in a way that makes them really, really happy. And I don't think that these movies that are coming up with these characters that people have been waiting for are going to engender this conversation about fatigue of superheroes. If anything, they're going to launch a new burgeoning superhero craze.
Mm-hmm.
And I just call BS on the fatigue conversation.
Got it.
Yeah. So, speaking of people who must be tired, so we've got Grandmaster, who's immortal and apparently still alive as a puddle, although the melty stick kills Thanos. The question is, though, is it always his birthday?
Yes.
His 27th birthday.
Yes. Every day is his birthday. Every day is his. Love it.
All right. So then we get into the we actually pick up with an interconnected story. We pick up right where we left off last season with What If Captain Carter Fought the Hydra Stomper, directed by Brian Andrews and written by A.C. Bradley. So this is continuing from the post-credit scene of season 1, and this is the first official sequel in the world of the very first What If episode. And Captain Peggy Carter and Natasha Romanoff find Steve Rogers inside the Hydra Stomper armor aboard the ship they were raiding, but he attacks them. And a briefing with Nick Fury leads Romanoff to deduce that Rogers, who went missing in 1953, was captured and brainwashed by the Red Room. Carter and Romanoff help Brock Rumlaw protect Bucky Barnes from Rogers before incapacitating him and traveling to a secret hideout in Scotland, where they learn the suit is keeping Rogers alive, though each activation reduces his chances of survival. Rogers offers to help Carter dismantle the Red Room in the hopes of finding a cure, and takes her and Romanoff to a former KGB site that looks like a creepy take on a town in Middle America run by automatons. However, the group is ambushed by these drones and Black Widow assassins, which are controlled by the Red Room's leader, Melina Vostokov, who reactivates Rogers' brainwashing. And while Romanoff holds off Vostokov's forces, Peggy connects with Steve again, and he sacrifices himself to destroy the Red Room, but not before Natasha uses her grappling hook to tie Melina to Rogers' suit so that she's killed in the resulting explosion as well. As Carter tries to find Rogers and not believing that he could be dead, a portal suddenly takes her to a Renaissance-themed universe, surprising even the Watcher. And there she encounters its variants of Fury and Wanda Maximoff, aka Wanda Merlin, and she calls out to her friend, the Watcher, for help. So, what do you think of this episode, Jean?
I liked it. This is, so after episode 4, 3, and 2, this was like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm in this right now. Mm-hmm. The town that they went to, the replica, Americana, Middle America town that they found themselves in with the automatons, and that was just so cool.
Creepy, yeah.
Yeah, it was so very creepy. I just like the entire tone of the episode. The one thing was that Steve, when outside of the suit, right, when you see his face, I just wasn't convinced of his villainy. It just didn't. I couldn't see his face and think, oh gosh, this guy's going to totally kill people. I just didn't get that vibe from his eyes. I don't know, but when he put the mask up, I was totally invested in the character being evil. But when they showed his face, I wasn't. Maybe that was, I don't know. I thought he was interesting, but not in the way that Bucky was interesting in the MCU. Like, I didn't think that his brainwashing angle instead of the Bucky brainwashing angle,
mm-hmm.
I didn't enjoy it as much as the Bucky brainwashing. But the fight scenes I thought were really cool. Black Widow and Peggy's, banter and their just the way that they play off each other, I think was really cool. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. What'd you think, David?
This was another meh for me. I think maybe I'm just not as invested with the characters, but it was fine. I watched it mostly without looking away at my phone too many times. But
well, that's a win.
Yeah,
that's a win for me.
That's a win.
I got interested when the other assassins showed up, all of Natasha's sisters, quote unquote. I was into that, and I thought that the Red Room thing, it really reminded me of what was that called? What was the AI, or not the AI, but what was the big ship platform in the Creator called? one shot on that.
It's not the Sentinel. It's like the
something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that sort of thing is, is hovering menace. So yeah. Oh, and then it was very Independence Day at the end when they go when he goes up into it. If you remember the end of, and spoilers for Independence Day, I don't know how old that movie is.
Oh man, we're spoiling Independence Day.
Yeah, exactly. When he flies his jet up into the
people have only had like 30 years to see it.
I know, exactly. And yeah, so it was fine. I thought that the whole Captain Carter making moondog eyes at Steve Rogers got a little. I was like, okay, I got it. You like him, and then the sort of love triumphs all. Love was able to get Steve Rogers to break his programming or what have you. It's kind of like, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take me too far. But yeah, I think the ending fight scenes were with the other assassins. That's where I got interested.
Yeah.
I am more invested in Captain Carter and basically everyone else except this version of Steve Rogers. And I don't know if it's because like he's stuck in the suit or whatever, but I've just, I was more invested in her and Black Widow, which I was wondering if Black Widow was like a little jealous at times of,
It felt that way.
Mm-hmm.
It felt that way. And I think they definitely made it feel that way because they would cut to her face at certain points. Like, and she would have like a bewildered look on her when Peggy was talking about Steve. So definitely, I think they intended it to feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was really nice to see Melina back, and I love Rachel Weisz, so always happy to see her. But it was sad to see her like this without her redemption arc. I did like this, like a lot of the story aspects better than the Black Widow movie, which it was riffing off of a lot. But I do have questions, like, does Yelena exist in this universe? Apparently there's no Red Guardian because they modeled him after Cap. And so after this, there's instead, I want to see that Captain Carter movie musical.
That would be funny.
Although at first I want to see the entire Marvel's movie musical. That's my recast T'Challa. There was some fun playing with the what ifness, with the alternate timelines. We have Brock Rumlow. So since Steve and Bucky knocked out Hydra going into the 50s, Brock Rumlow is not a Hydra spy in S.H.I.E.L.D., so he gets to be a good guy in this one instead of becoming Crossbones. And they also, of course, we have Captain Carter instead of Captain America at the Battle of New York in 2012, but then also the Wasp is there. So apparently the Wasp was originally going to be in the Avengers movie, but Feige told Whedon to replace that character with Black Widow instead. Huh. So that's a cool callback. Yeah, and then of course, Bucky takes the place of Pierce, who's played by Robert Redford, because now Bucky has aged like a normal person, so he's like the old government dude. And I have to wonder who's going to bring. I don't think Steve's dead. I'm wondering who's going to bring him back. Is it going to be Peggy's or going to be Bucky to bring him back to himself?
Yeah, I don't need Steve. I don't need this. No, I don't.
I don't need this version of Steve, but
I hope he's not. I hope you're wrong that he is. I know he's not, but I kind of hope that they change plan.
Yeah. And I have to say, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, just go ahead with the, Natasha and Peggy love stories.
Yeah, no, I was more into that. I was also more into Peggy with the other Steve that we'll see in episode 8. But,
that one too, yeah. They could do that too. Absolutely.
Although at least she and Natasha are in the same universe. But I know Long Time by Linda Ronstadt has been Peggy and Steve's song before it was Bill and Frank's song from The Last of Us. But now I can't. I associate it with that more. Like, sorry, I did it better with that song.
Yeah. So episode 6, What If Kahore Reshaped the World? Directed by Brian Andrews, written by Ryan Little. Ryan Little started as a production assistant, working his way up through Marvel to story coordinator and editor. This is the first main writing credit. Can't find cultural background, what drove him to specifically want to tell a Mohawk story. The change. Surtur does Ragnarok a few centuries early, destroying Asgard, and the Tesseract crash lands in a lake in the Elysia.
Haudenosaunee, so it's the Confederacy.
Iroquois Confederacy.
Yep.
And pre-colonial 15th century later upstate New York, giving the lake magical properties. After numerous members of the tribe disappear into the lake, never to return, it becomes known as the Forbidden Lake. In the late 15th century, young Mohawk siblings, Kahore and Wata, did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Are hunted by Spanish conquistadors who ransack their village in search of the Fountain of Youth. While hiding inside a cave, Wata is captured and Kahore is shot, causing her to fall in the Forbidden Lake and into another dimension, where she is nursed back to health by fellow Mohawk people. A villager named Atarak explains that the missing tribes people were teleported to the sky world, where they gained powers and immortality, but were unable to return home. As Kahore familiarizes herself with her newfound powers and learns she's the best at them, the conquistadors enter the lake, believing it to be the fountain, and invade the sky world. Kahore stops them and forces the portal from the sky to the ground and returns home. She and the villagers defeat the conquistadors, rescue her people, and later force Queen Isabella to make peace. Soon after, Dr. Strange emerges from a separate portal and approaches Kahore. David?
I thought that this was my favorite episode. It seemed fresh. It seemed innovative in a number of ways. The whole idea with the Tesseract, using the Tesseract and then throwing it into this lake. I didn't see that idea. And then when the conquistadors showed up, I didn't think that, I didn't realize, they're going after the Fountain of Youth kind of thing. I thought that was a cool motivation for them, rolling in that those historical, little bits and pieces from real world history. I got the most feels from this episode in terms of an emotional response. And I think it was just a very simple thing of overcoming an invaders and rallying people to fight for, a just cause. So I think that worked. I thought that they really made the conquistadors as bad guys, very mono, flat, fine. And then with Queen Isabella, they really, I'm not saying that the Spanish shouldn't in this instance be hung out to dry, but they really simplified a lot of complex, stuff in terms of historical currents and tides. I'm not talking about morality. I'm just talking about how history went down. Which is fine. It's a cartoon, and but I did scratch my head because when I did some light Googling, I didn't think that the Mohawk Nation was anywhere near the Atlantic seaboard. So I don't know where these conquistador ships were coming into, if they were in the Great Lakes.
Oh,
but again, doesn't matter. It's like. But
this is before colonialization. Before the Eastern tribes were pushed to the Great Lakes region, they were.
Were they on the
Eastern Woodland tribes? Yeah. So this is upstate New York. Yeah.
All right. So my quote unquote, my own research failed me there. But yeah, I just didn't understand that aspect of the history. So none of that took me out of it. None of that caused me a problem, or what have you. But it was a really enjoyable episode. And I don't know if they have plans for Kahore as a new superhero within the storylines or what they're going to do, but I don't know anything about where this character came from and where they're going, and I thought that was exciting for me.
Okay.
Elysia, what did you think?
I'm going to wait till last. You go.
Oh, okay.
John's got opinions.
Yeah, so this is like my, it's between this episode and the next episode as my favorite, right? So it's really hard to parse for me. I was really angry at the conquistadors being in this episode. And even though I was angry, I still loved it. I still loved it because historically it didn't make sense for me to have Spanish speaking peoples interact with this tribe of indigenous peoples, right? They just fake what I call them, a fake Ponce de Leon looking for the Fountain of Youth.
Right.
That's not here, right?
Right.
You know, it would have made.
That's what I was bumping up against, right? I was like, wait, this doesn't. But it's a cartoon, so
yeah, it's a cartoon. But you know, still, if they did all of this work to capture, you know, the cultural.
Right.
What am I looking for? What's the word?
The accuracies or the portrayal that's representative and not oversimplified.
Yes. Then the invaders should have been French.
Okay.
Or at the very least, you know, English, early English, Dutch. Something the
Dutch were their allies, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's who they should have been interacting with, right? Instead of the Spanish speaking, you know. Instead of the conquistadors. That's the only thing that really bothered me about this episode. It would have been cool to see her, you know, confront, you know, Louis XIV instead of Queen Isabella. I think it was Louis. It might have been Louis's great-great-grandfather who was, you know, King of France at the time, right? But still, just it didn't take me out, but it upset me. I really loved this episode for how it treated the interactions between the people who found the Tesseract and how the Tesseract made them.
Mm-hmm.
This is a totally different view on how to react to the cosmic that we've received from the MCU. Like, they interacted with this power source in a way that we haven't seen before, right? It wasn't centralized to one person. It was shared, and it was something that imbued them with power, right? Mm-hmm. They consumed it and imbued them with power. This is a departure from how we've seen like the Stones or anything else in the MCU that deals with, you know, otherworldly powers. I thought that was really, really cool to watch because it gives you a different viewpoint, a different frame of thinking of how, you know, we see things. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, how we deal with nature in a way that is completely different to how another group of people deal with nature. You sent us something in our chat.
The Mohawk creation story.
Yeah, the creation.
I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to look at that yet.
Which was really illuminating for me because it you know, I've not had that experience of reading or of hearing that story, right? And to see how they pulled in the sky world, the water, and all of these, you know, signifiers, and put them into the story that we got in What If with their own little twist on it, right? Mm-hmm. Was really great. It was really awesome to see. Given that background, once I read it, and I was like, oh, it opened up even a new avenue for me to appreciate what they actually did in this story. So this was really this. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about it, actually.
Yeah. As far as I thought a lot about the historical problem with the Spanish showing up when it should have been the French. And I was wondering at first, like, well, of course, it's a different universe. It happens differently. Yeah. So is it just easier to make the Spanish conquistadors baddies in this case in film stereotype terms? But then again, Prey, which, by the way, excellent movie. Everyone should watch it. But it's about the Comanche who are... and their enemies are these French trappers until something worse comes along.
Right.
And it's so, yeah, you can do it. But then I was thinking, well, maybe also they want to link the quest for the Fountain of Youth to this creation myth, because, you know, in a lot of Native American storytelling and especially creation myths, waters are portals between worlds.
Right.
And so it does seem like the in-universe reason for the Spanish coming this far north, rather than they obviously actually in our world came much further south, is that there were rumors of this special lake, and the legend of it reached Spanish ears. And so that's when they thought, well, it is the Fountain of Youth because the people who fall within it don't age. But of course, it's never exactly what you think it's going to be.
Right.
So I'm happy to accept it for that, and for those reasons, I really like that they made a huge effort. Disney has done this, with Prey, with Echo, working very closely with specific tribes to bring their specific mythology to life.
It's interesting.
In this case, Little and Andrews, this is quoting Wikipedia here, Little and Andrews worked for 4 years with members of the Mohawk Nation, such as historian Doug George, who provided insight into the history of the Akwesasne region, which is upstate New York today, and the Mohawk language expert Cecilia King to create Kahori's look and world to ensure the cultural authenticity of the episode. So it's funny. So the Mohawks are from the same region as my tribe. The Potawatomi originally were also Eastern Woodlands, although they were enemies. And so I know some things about them. Like I knew when I saw this story, I was like, okay, I bet that their creation myth is similar. It's going to involve these water portals. And so that's enough to be able to look it up. But then I don't know that much about the language. So I thought when listening to this, I was like, wow, Mohawk is a lot less monotone than Potawatomi language. But it turns out that they actually did that on purpose. They gave it more inflection to make it sound more auditorially interesting, quote unquote. So
interesting.
Yeah. And as far as the mustache twirling conquistadors, I think maybe Isabella got a little bit of an unfair shake because she apparently wanted to punish Christopher Columbus for his slaving ways, so maybe she's not as bad as she was portrayed here. But I think from this story is told from the perspective of Kahori and her people, and from her perspective, they are the bad guys.
Sure. Yeah.
This was one of my favorite episodes. Love the way they incorporated the myth. Love the vibes. Want to see more of this character, and I love that they didn't. I love they didn't wimp out and do this episode in English.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting as well.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that they're not monoculturizing different Native American tribes. That they did the work to understand which particular story that they're telling.
Yeah. And Kahori was played by Devery Jacobs, who the fact I haven't watched Reservation Dogs yet is a big miss, I think. But a lot of people want to see her as a live action Kahori, and I'm in full support of that.
Yeah, definitely.
David, were you saying you watch Reservation Dogs, or was that John?
I am in my spouse and I are watching it now. I missed out on the running of it in real time, and a lot of it ended up a lot of top 10 lists, and so we finished season 1 and have started season 2. It's really great. I would put it in the same category of shows as like Atlanta and The Bear, where they're doing a lot of interesting storytelling and having fun with it, but also having a lot of real stuff that we human beings deal with, and putting it out there in an interesting way. And it's really good. It's really good.
No, it's near the top of my list of shows I have to remedy. Oh, they need, like, people are like, there's going to be a dearth of shows because of the strike. I'm like, good. Give me time to catch up.
I'm sorry, but I'm tracking all this stuff on the show tracker. There is not a dearth of shows.
No.
Right.
We already got the screeners for Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah. We got the screeners. We got True Detective. I mean, it's a lot's coming. Severance. House of the Dragon. Yeah.
So, I love that the way they incorporated and made it references to a lot of Native American ideas that were familiar to me, like to people coming from Clay. Kahori was identified as Wolf Clan, which I'm jealous of. I'm Crane Clan. And I love that just the general idea that they get their power via the land. So it comes from the Tesseract. That's the Marvel twist, but it's a very core idea to Native American culture that they're picking up the power by living on and loving the land and its beings. And
really good stuff.
And we've got another afterlife world to add to the Marvel mix. Speaking of which, so episode 7, What If Hela Found the 10 Rings? Directed by Brian Andrews, written by Matthew Chauncey. So the change is, instead of banishing Hela to hell, when she won't stop conquesting, Odin instead strips her of her powers and banishes to Earth, like he did to Thor in the Thor movie. And she lands in medieval China. Odin destroys Mjolnir, just like she did to Thor's Mjolnir, and instead he gives Hela's crown an enchantment and says this crown may only be worn and its powers used by she who knows mercy, and he sends it to land on Earth near her. In medieval China, Hela is confronted by the armies of Xu Wenwu, the bearer of the 10 Rings, nearly a millennium before he would fall in love and have a son named Shang-Chi. Hela attempts to retrieve her crown, but fails due to the lack of mercy thing. And Wenwu keeps Hela alive, trying to recruit her to his army and maybe his bed, until she escapes after failing to steal his 10 rings. She's guided by a Hundun who looks a lot like Morris to the realm of Talo, where she convinces their leader, Jia Yi, to let her join their cause. Jia Yi teaches Hela martial arts after she recognizes her true desire not to conquest, but to get freedom from control. After Heimdall reports his failure to locate Hela back to Odin, Odin visits Earth to battle Wenwu in retaliation, and Hela joins Wenwu in fighting against Odin, ultimately winning but sparing her father, thus regaining her worthiness to wield her crown. Odin recognizes Hela's growth and passes Asgard's throne to her. Hela unites the armies of Asgard and Wenwu's 10 Rings organization and embarks on a journey to ensure freedom across the 9 realms and beyond, coming to the rescue of Gamora's people as Thanos attacks them. So we see baby Gamora gets a different fate in this universe. Jean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, again, this is one of my favorite episodes between this and 6. I love the portrayal of Hela. I think her arc to worthiness was done much better than Thor's. Personally, I really enjoyed her arc to fighting her worthiness. Was really great to see. There are a host of tonal things that just made sense to me with her character. And I love that instead of, locking her or putting her out of history, that Odin actually, sent her out, cast her out of Asgard to figure this shit out. There's this moment at the end of the episode where Hela is transformed into white, right?
Yeah.
And as the goddess of death, she's always in black, signifying, what she does, who she is, right? And now she's been transformed into this bringer of life, basically, because she's, saving people instead of, taking them to the underworld. This calls back to a comic, and I want to say 2014, 2015, a comic run for the Ultimates that's written by Al Ewing, where basically the team of the Ultimates, they transform Galactus. Galactus is the devourer of worlds, right? They transform Galactus into Galactus the Lifebringer. And he becomes, instead of someone who feeds off worlds and kills them, he creates them. And that's how he derives his energy from. That called back to that comic. And I would, if it's not a callback to the comic, I'll be shocked. But having her transform in that way made me think of that comic. And that was one of the best comic book runs of, I would say, the last 10, 15 years, written by Al Ewing. Was really, really, really cool for me to see. I liked this episode a lot. I thought, again, the Hela arc was hella done. It was great. And it was really cool to see this play out without Thor, without Loki, without any of these characters that we, think of when we think of Asgard.
Yeah. Yeah. I have questions though so Thor's not born yet in this, but obviously he was born by medieval times because the Norse were worshiping him before that. So I'm going with it took a hella long time to fall through space. That's my explanation.
Yeah.
What did you think, David?
Yeah, again, it wasn't one that grabbed me. So not characters that I'm invested in, and so yeah, not much to say.
Okay. I mean, yeah. So I thought it was one of the best of the season. Also, I know a lot of people feel that way about this one. I love the mashup of worlds, believable character development, real psychology at work here. Just like in real psychology, they find that the carrot is more effective than the stick. So second chances work better than punishment, which, we won't get into prison systems in the US, but I liked, we have more of the underworld references coming together. My one question, though, is Odin racist? Because he was perfectly happy to give the Tesseract to Norwegians, but the Chinese can't have the 10 rings. And what happened to this whole mercy thing in the final battle?
Yeah, Odin's a little racist.
Yeah. But speaking of racist times, what happened to the Avengers in 1602?
Man, okay. What if Avengers assembled in 1602? Directed by Brian Andrews, written by A.C. Bradley and Ryan Little. The change. Captain Carter is pulled through a portal to a universe where the Avengers lived through the Renaissance. After arriving in Renaissance-themed universe, Captain Carter agrees to help Wanda Merlin and Sir Nicholas Fury stop an impending incursion. She saves Prince Loki from being pulled into a tear, but fails to save Queen Hela, so is hunted by Sir Harold the Happy Hogan under the new king Thor's orders. Carter learns the incursion is occurring due to the presence of the Forerunner, another time-displaced individual, and locates Tony Stark, who can make a device to identify the Forerunner using the Time Stone and Thor's scepter. He points her toward outlaws, Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, and Scott Lang to help steal it. Carter finds the group, but they are ambushed by Hogan. Carter gives herself up before freeing herself and a masked Bruce Banner. They meet with Stark and join Rogers' group in infiltrating Thor's court. With Wanda's help, the group retrieves the Time Stone for Stark's device, which identifies Rogers as the Forerunner who had inadvertently created the temporal anomaly while battling Thanos. Carter bids farewell to Rogers and returns him to his universe, preventing the incursion before she is met by Supreme Strange.
Yeah, so like I said, this was my favorite episode of the season, but I love this era of history. And I have to admit, there's more fudging of history here than all the rest of the episodes combined. Because we've got Robin Hood's a few centuries too late. We've got the Man in the Iron Mask and the wrong. I'm not even sure what continent they're on, to be honest.
Pangea.
It's funny because it is based on the Neil Gaiman comic, but that comic is really rooted in history. So it's about the death of Queen Elizabeth, and then King James takes over, who's the person who, by inheriting the throne, he united Scotland and England. But in the comic, he hates what they call the witch breed, which are like the mutants and the magical people. And so that's the source of all this. But then you do also find, spoiler alert for the comics, there's a Native American character who's suspiciously white, and it turns out that he's Steve Rogers, displaced in time, sent back. And so it is basically the same story, but this is playing a lot looser with history, mostly different characters. Wanda's kind of a villain in the comic book version, and here she's definitely more on the hero side, which I didn't mind at all. But despite all that, yeah, I loved it. I loved the fun and the vibes. So what did you think, Sean?
It was cool. I thought it was fun. I thought it was lighthearted. I thought it was, I didn't feel like the stakes were incredibly high, even though they were dealing with the incursion. Just didn't feel, like world ending to me for whatever reason. It felt a lot more about the characters on the ground than this overarching, the fate of the world is at hand here. I thought I like seeing these characters played in a different way. Again, Happy Hogan wasn't very happy in this, but he was great. I thought his villain, I don't even know if we could call him a villain, but still his portrayal was really cool in this. I thought his story was fun. I thought he brought, for me, a lot of levity to the story overall when he showed up, twirling his mustache and really being a different version of what we know. I think it wasn't my favorite episode, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love that Tom Hiddleston got to do some Shakespeare. And Hamlet's obviously an appropriate one for Loki. We talked a lot about that play in our Beacon 23 breakdowns because that's it's relevant to that TV show on Will Shift Dust. And I love that the reference to the incursions. Peggy talks about needing to unstick the worlds. We're finally getting more acknowledgement of the incursion situation. Right. And now that Peggy and the Watcher are apparently just like best friends chatting throughout the episode.
Yeah. We'll see where it takes us. To people who want things to be connected, well, here you go.
Okay, so then we get to the finale, which picks up right where this left off. This one's directed by Brian Andrews, written by Matthew Chauncey, and Strange Supreme. He takes Captain Carter to his sanctum infinitum, where he reveals that he has been capturing universe killers to atone for his sins and asks for her help in capturing an escaped variant who fled to a universe where Hydra used the Tesseract to destroy the world. Carter agrees and encounters Kahori, who reveals that Strange has been capturing variants to feed to the Forge, a magical machine he built to resurrect his lost universe. As Strange attempts to kill Kahori, Carter frees his captives, allowing her and Kahori to escape. Amidst the chaos, the pair encounter Black Panther Killmonger, who Kahori just sends away and takes his armor for Captain Carter to wear. And while the pair battle Strange at the Forge, the variants who are falling into the Forge start throwing their weapons to Carter. I like the Mjolnir and Hela's crown and just the shield, all of
spear.
The spear, yeah. And Strange, he's taken over by his demonic self, and though Carter separates them as the Forge collapses, Strange is aware enough to sacrifice himself and his demonic counterpart into it, and the Watcher returns Kahori home, bringing Carter to Strange's restored universe to show her that Strange succeeded in resurrecting Christine Palmer finally, though he can never be reborn into this world. Carter asks the Watcher to show her the multiverse before taking her home, and they visit Loki's Yggdrasil Tree of Life.
Yes, and I thought that was a great final shot. Just really awesome. You see the connecting to Loki, and just really, really great. That was so. Yeah, I can't say enough about how I enjoyed that last shot. Like, that's my screensaver. It's really, really well done. The part that I liked about this was Strange. Not being in control, because it wasn't Strange, I feel it was all the entities that he, took in that were actually in control of what he was doing. So the idea that he could control all of these evil demonic forces, these magical creatures that he, took into his very soul in order to become this all powerful person, and that he can control it forever, that never felt right to me. And to see him lose control, and for those entities to come out and say, nah, we're running this shit, that was really great for me. I thought that was really well done. Strange to me was the best part of this episode.
I didn't love this episode as much as the last season finale, or as much as the episode 4, when Strange Supreme was born episode. It was a bit messier and didn't have the same like emotional nuance as those episodes, but I did quite like it. And one of the things I loved most is that they took the two characters that, like, the quote unquote Marvel bros were most likely to complain about this season, and they just doubled down on it. Yep. These are the two women, women who are saving the day. Yeah. Yep. they got me with a twist that it was Kahori who was sending them after, because I had already heard that zombie Wanda was going to show up in this episode. So I thought that that's who she was going to find in the forest. And of course we see zombie Wanda briefly later. Right. So that twist worked for me. I loved the wall of universe killers. It was just like Easter egg wall. Definitely
that was cool. Go through them all. That was cool to watch.
But
cool
I want to see Evil Rocket and Cowboy Loki.
Cowboy Loki.
Yeah. I think I'm glad we got the Loki and Watcher relationship kind of answered, or at least addressed. And
is it though?
I mean, we saw, they're kind of on the same playing field in a way, although Watcher gets to walk around and Loki has to sit in his chair.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah. We're not going to nerd off right now, but I don't know about that.
To be continued. But, I like they seem to be differentiating heroes like the Caps, the always do right types, and the Stranges and Wandas who might end up hurting people to get what they want, which, to be honest, those are kind of the more interesting characters to me. But,
absolutely.
And I hope this is the beginning of more Kahori. That's
that goes without saying. That goes without saying. Definitely a watch for folks out there who are on the fence about this series. So episode 9 definitely is a watch. Yeah. If just to get to the end shot. if only that. If only. Yeah. That.
I mean, if you just want this story 5 through 9, but it's worth. Don't skip one and don't skip the rest.
Cool. All right. Good job, guys. That was a lot to cover. That was great content. I'm going to have to definitely go check 9 because, I forgot about the fact that Strange shows up at the end with Kahori and says, I've been looking for you. So I gotta put that on my list to catch up on.
Yeah.
So are they going for a season 3? Is that been confirmed?
Yes.
It's being made now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And they already released a new scene because it was from an episode that was going to be this season, but is being pushed to next season.
Okay.
So there's a scene out there of, you see, like, probably somewhere in the 70s or something, Red Guardian and Bucky on the road in like Route 56 style on a road trip, and they're stopped by, it seems like it's Bill Foster, Lawrence Fishburne's character, and a new character, Ranger Morales, played by America Ferrera. So we've got that, and at least 8 other episodes coming at some point, ... Hopefully we'll also get that If Wanda Grew Up Watching Musicals episode.
Well, maybe if they're using this game engine, as you said, for the animation in terms of writing and on that side, it's not, going to animation, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is not that hard as it would be with other styles of animation. So maybe, fingers crossed, we see this next year.
Yeah. I mean, I think next year is realistic because they've already, because it was already greenlit and they've already been working on it. They've had some time to do that.
It's just nice when, I don't mean to be, complaining about all this stuff, but it is nice when seasons aren't 2 or 3 years out from the previous season.
Yeah.
Nice when there's a little bit regularity.
That's been a terrible trend of recent years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. Especially if you have big names attached to a project.
And the backlog with VFX artists and animators.
Exactly.
Yeah. We have to treat these, acknowledge the work.
I think AC Bradley is not coming back for a season.
No? Okay.
No, I think she's out for season.
Okay. Well, that it could be interesting to have new voices. Hopefully we'll have some of the others for continuity.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to season 3. So let's take a quick break. And then when we come back, let's get into our preview for Echo. And we're back. Okay, let's talk about the upcoming show on Disney Plus. 5 episodes, all to drop at once. Echo. And it looks like they're talking December 9th, possibly 10th. They're playing one of those silly games with the actual release.
January.
January, yeah.
Did I say December? Oh, sorry.
It's
It's in the
January.
notes here. Why does it say
my fault.
New year.
Woo-hoo, hello.
2024, January.
Swinging to 23.
That's right. Be here on the mic now, not at the Google Doc.
There we go.
So,
I'm guessing that means like the evening of the 9th for the US, which means for most of the world the 10th. Yeah.
So the second trailer dropped. Elysia, you posted that, and then you also posted a video that they put up talking about the background for Echo and how they're working with Native American tribes or a tribe, the Choctaw tribe on this one specifically. And after watching that second trailer, I was running around the house. I was like screaming. I was like, oh my God, this looks so good. And I had to check myself because I think the last time I got really excited by a trailer, we had a dumpster fire. So
This is not that.
I am still hyped for this show. I'm really excited. So let's talk about who Echo is, the character, and what it is that we need to know going into this season. So let's who's leading us off on this?
Jean. So because Daredevil will appear in the series, but only very occasionally, people don't get like, I don't want people to think it's going to be the Daredevil show. Yeah, he's got one coming. But he'll probably be around like the beginning and the end. So, and we got in the trailer, we got clips of Fisk from the Daredevil Netflix show. So does that make the show canon? I don't know.
Yes.
So Jean was going to walk us through.
It is definitely canon. It's canon.
So what happened, Joe?
So Echo, we met in Hawkeye Christmas special last year in 2022, not 23. She is the adoptive daughter of Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. She becomes his enemy because she finds out that he had her father killed. That's pretty much the motivation for this new.
That's it.
That's the motivation for the series. You raised me. You told me that you were close and loving with my father. You call me your niece. We're family, and I find out that you were the one who orchestrated the murder of my father. That's the stake. That's where we're at with this series.
And what do we need to know about Fisk? Because it sounds like he's going to be a pretty important part of the storyline here.
So a short recap. Wilson Fisk is from the Netflix Daredevil universe. This is still that person. He's that character. In the Netflix series, Fisk was the main villain for much of the series. One of the biggest crime bosses in New York City. He ruled Hell's Kitchen, putting him into conflict with Matt Murdock, Daredevil. Fisk is portrayed as brutal, cunning, murderous. He's evil, head bashing, exactly. He's even able to trick Frank Castle, the Punisher, to go against Daredevil. We also see that he is someone who was plagued by the demons of his childhood, a childhood where we saw him actually kill his father with a hammer after watching his father physically assault him. But then we also see him as a loving and caring person, especially when it comes to Vanessa, Mariana, the woman that he falls in love with. Daredevil is finally able to defeat him. Fisk threatens to reveal his secret identity if Daredevil doesn't kill him. And Daredevil says, if you don't do what I want you to do, then I'm going to let the authorities know that Vanessa played a role in a murder that happened during the season. He stays silent and gets arrested, all to probably protect Vanessa. Then we see him again. He shows up in Hawkeye. So Fisk is out of prison. He has rebuilt his criminal empire during the blip. He didn't get blipped, obviously. So he's here in all his Kingpin glory. He's commanding, he's in charge, and he's manipulating everything and everyone around New York City. He seems to have put his past behind him of being a little, unsure of himself at times. This is making him really formidable, really dangerous. Eleanor Bishop is Kate Bishop's mother, who becomes Hawkeye in the series, is working for him because of a debt that's owed by her husband and Kate's deceased father. He attempts to kill Eleanor when she reneges on their deal, which leads Kate to becoming Hawkeye by donning the mask and taking out her bow and arrows to try to take down the Kingpin with help from Clint Barton. This is where we also meet Maya Lopez, Echo, who is Fisk's niece, as her father was a trusted employee of the Kingpin who got murdered. We find out, along with Maya, that it was Fisk who had her father killed. She swears vengeance, which leads us to the new Disney Plus series, Echo.
And she shoots him in the eye.
Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot about that. So in the comics, Echo is a mutant. She's part of the X-Men, New Mutants, X-Men higher stories. She is Native American.
But vaguely.
In the comics, vaguely. Yes.
Yeah, they give her two tribes, but no,
no grounding
she's like
history.
Cheyenne and anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. In this series, she's Choctaw, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes.
so they fully lean into her being Native American with everything that we fully expect to see. The care that was taken in Kahari, we expect to see that in this series.
Yeah, it seems like even more so. Yeah. And also the same with her deaf identity, because she's also deaf. And so I know that they did a lot of the camera work around that as well to make sure that, the sign language gets worked in. And I know, like, in the comics, her powers are kind of more Taskmaster-esque.
Yes, they are. She can copy anything. Is
doing things in the background.
Lurkin alert.
Yeah. She's... she's copying anything. And in this case, I know they've changed it that she is getting specific powers from specific ancestors. And as the different powers activate, she'll have like different tattoos will form on her face.
Interesting.
So it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah. I know I'm excited because it's like Netflix Reborn. We've got like this gritty realism going on. I'm looking forward to it. David, you are as well. You like the groundedness.
100% hyped for this. I like the actor. I like the Fisk character. I don't know much about what we know about Echo is what we know about Echo. And I'm excited to see them try a different style and a different tone of storytelling, and then add in that my appreciation for the fact that they're doing the work to ground the production storytelling in the things that are important to respect and acknowledge people. I think I strayed into some YouTube territory, and this one has got the Marvel Bros all up in their shit, and I'm here for that. I was like, go ahead,
popcorn in the microwave.
Man.
So, I'm excited to see a different kind of storytelling. I'm excited to see a wider perspective on the universe. I'm excited to see the way that we tell storytelling, the way that they actually tell the story. They're innovating around that. And so just get the whole thing. I am 100% super enthusiastic to see where they take us with this one. And I'm just hoping it's going to be as exciting as the trailers are making me feel.
Yeah, definitely. And again, because it's the Fisk taken from Daredevil universe,
right?
Yeah, and it's the same character.
Yeah,
this is giving me hope. It's giving me hope that we get to see Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, come to the MCU proper at some point. Maybe even in the Daredevil series. I don't know.
Yeah,
just
at
give me something.
Me Karen and Foggy.
Bring Karen and Foggy back. But just if you were a fan of those shows, this gives you hope that you get to see some of these characters, even if they're portrayed by new actors.
No.
But you get to see these characters. This.
But so far, we've got the two biggest characters from Daredevil back, and they're the same actors. So I
can see them recasting Luke. Quite honestly, I can't see them recasting Jessica at this point.
Yeah, no, they're not going to recast Jessica. But I think
Not at this point.
There was thoughts about maybe recasting Luke because of the whole, they're like, oh, we don't want to do the Iron Fist the way it was. And,
we should do that too. We'll see.
Those two are so tied together. But I mean, minor spoiler alerts, Iron Fist ends in a very satisfying way for people who don't want the white savior thing. They fixed that at the end of the series, so they can pick right up where they left that off, and that would make a lot of people happy.
Cool.
We'll see. Fingers crossed.
So what's our coverage plans? This is a 5-episode drop.
And they all drop at once, yeah.
And I think it's coming on Hulu, actually, not Disney. I don't know. The merging is starting to happen.
I think it's both.
I think they're doing both, yeah.
I'm getting a lot of Hulu push. So
yeah, because it is a gritty rated R series, and I think they're testing because they're gonna. I mean, it's going to be a tile service over here outside the U.S.
In fact, I don't think it's going to be a tile. I think because when I'm looking at some of the deals, I was looking at subscription renewals. They're really leaning forward with Hulu and Hulu Live, and then Disney is an add-on. And so it's interesting what they're going to do. But yeah, I think they're going to keep it. So
okay. Here it's a tile called Stars.
Right. So we're scheduled for what? I think for the 13th. Next Saturday is our, we're going to record. So we've got to binge all 5 shows in a couple of days to try to get recording out on, recording done on the weekend, and then get a podcast into your feeds around like the 15th or 16th of January.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. I just pulled it up on my Disney.
Okay. All right.
So
fair enough.
On Disney.
Because I saw something where they were saying, set your Hulu filter to mature. Okay. Like turning the mature content thing on Hulu. So I think they're going both directions to probably A/B test it a little bit. So,
okay.
So yeah, we're going to do that. And I think we're excited for it. So
Yes, we are.
Given the length of time and the realities of life, I'm just going to speed us through our quick outro. Elysia, do you have anything immediately coming on Woolshift Dust? I know you've got other
next
plans.
up is the wrap up for Beacon 23 season 1, and
okay,
and then we're jumping into Dune, and Shift is the next Shift and Dust are the next books in the Silent Book Club.
Okay, I can't wait to hear the Beacon 23 stuff.
Yeah,
because I got questions.
We recorded the wrap up. I lost about a week or so of editing time due to hearing problems. So getting back on that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so Properly Howard movie review. They're on a little break. Anthony's a bit busy with some stuff, but he's still doing this auction, this fantasy draft auction thing, or no, fantasy draft for House of the Dragon on his Bookaloo channel. Even though I think he's a little bit of a pause there because of work-related stuff. However, as soon as we get a date for Severance, we are going to be covering that week to week, episode to episode with Steve and Anthony from Properly Howard Movie Review. So go find that feed. There's a link in the show notes, or just search Severance Lorehounds and you should be able to find it. For the Lorehounds main, we are going to be covering True Detective Night Country, which is the 4th season of this show. Even though it is an anthology series, you don't need to have watched 1 through 3 to appreciate this. I have already seen episode 1. We got access to screeners. I'm not going to say anything. I can't say anything except watch the show when it comes out because it's good. I did a rewatch of season 1 recently. I binged, what is that? How many episodes? Is it 8 or 9 episodes in like a 3-day period? So it kind of like broke my brain a little bit, but it's so good, that series. And so I'll be watching for any tie-ins that cross the series, but otherwise you should be able to watch season 4 all by yourself. And that should be good. Otherwise, we've got on the Star Wars Film Fest, we're going to come up on Rogue One. That's going to be exciting. We just published a Silmarillion story. Earthsea Book Nook will be back in February. And then we're going to be tracking some different shows in the future. We're looking at Masters of the Air. We're looking at Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We're looking at Constellation. That's an Apple TV show. So we've got a number of things that we're keeping our eyes on. So stay tuned.
Apple keeps coming with the sci-fi stuff.
Yep. That one is going to be interesting. That is with Jonathan Banks and Noomi Rapace, who was in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And it seems like a mystery box, sort of, I maybe push it in the direction of Silo in some regards. If you're a Patreon subscriber, check the show tracker and you can find information about that show quite easily. Otherwise, to our Lore Master patrons who go to support all of our operations and help us take care of all of our co-hosts as well, Samartian, Mark H., Michael G., Michelle E., David W., Brian P., Nick W., SC, Peter O.H., Bettina W., Adam S., Nancy M., Duve71, Brian 8063, Frederick H., Sarah L., Gareth C., Eric F., Matthew M., Sarah M., DJ Miwa, Andra B., Kwang Yu, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T., Alex V., Aaron T., Sub-Zero, Aaron K., Dawn V, and last but never least, Adrian. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you.
We are going to jump and we'll see you on Echo in about a week. Thank you, Elysia. Thank you, Sean. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
See you in a minute.
I was going to allulate, but I won't do that to people.
Okay. Thanks.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by the Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities.